And happy Saturday, everyone. So, from Perrin Morris, you asked the question, who would win in a fight? Omni-Man versus the X-Men. Now, if you want the short answer to that, it's the X-Men. But if you want the more in-depth answer, which is obvious, we got to go a little bit into it a bit. Because, let's be very frank, there are mutants on just the X-Men roster alone that would make mincemeat of Omni-Man. We have like reality warpers, individuals who can use magic, people whose strength literally just supersedes Nolan's by leagues. But Nolan is as a Superman clone, more, and that's what he is. He's their version of Superman, the Image Comics version, or at least one of them. He is still insanely powerful, fast enough to literally light a planet by just by literally moving through their atmosphere and causing friction, moving through space at millions of times the speed of light. Durable enough to take meteors to the face, survive the plasma of his sun, albeit be very injured doing so. Strong enough to blow up a planet, mind you, with the help of other Viltrumites, but still planet-esque busting. He's got super enhanced senses, capable of flying, and gets stronger through every altercation. So that's the easy answer right there. The problem with the X-Men is there's been so many members to exist over time in the X-Men. It's difficult to kind of pinpoint, okay, who are we talking about? So, luckily, I have a 12-page or 11-page list here of different team rosters that have existed. So let's go down the list here and break this down a bit. The original team consisted of Angel, Beast, Cyclops, Iceman, Jean Grey. I said Angel, Beast, Cyclops, Marvel Girl, or Jean Grey, Professor X, technically, Iceman, and they then later included Havoc and Mimic and Changeling, who I'm actually not familiar on Changeling. Who is Changeling? That's a very good. I know Mimic is, but who the hell is Changeling? I'm not actually 100% sure on that. Point being, that's your basic team roster. And right out the gate, I can say that Angel and Beast would get their asses clapped. Unfortunately, they would. Now, Mimic, Changeling, you know what? Changeling was probably their shapeshifter on the team. Something similar to Morph or Mystique. My guess, at any rate, is what that. But Mimic could copy every one of their powers, so there's that. This allowed for enhanced, obviously, physicality, similar to Beast. Cyclops' Octave Blast, Jean Grey's Telepathy, and a little bit of telekinesis. Sorry, I heard kids going down the street. And Iceman's ability to, use ice. The only ones on this team that are a real threat to Nolan here will be Cyclops if he hits him dead on with a full power blast, because a control blast is only going to really annoy him from Cyclops. But a full power blast, that could hurt, especially if you've seen how powerful he gets in the comics. Havoc is a similar boat, just a different level of power. Iceman, we know, is an Omega level mutant. If he really wanted to, he theoretically could freeze all the water in Nolan's body and literally just freeze him to death. Now, granted, he'd have to hit Nolan and touch him, and Nolan would probably break him in half there. Nolan's biggest problems are going to be, and Polaris, he was on this team for a while. So Polaris controlling magnetic fields to a certain degree, like Magneto, problematic. But it's Professor X and Jean. Together, they could probably shut him down. Literally shut him down mentally. So, while it would be difficult for this team to do it, I think if they really... And plus, Nolan has no defense against telekinesis. So, that team should, in theory, be able to do it. But still. Then you got Deadly Genesis, which was a different X-Men roster for a short time. Which, again, which was only really consisting of Kid Vulcan, Pietra, and Sway. Who the hell is Pietra and Sway? And Darwin. Now, I can't keep including Professor X because he's not an active member of the team all the time, but Darwin. Okay, now, we're going now through different rosters of history. So there's actually a lot more teams than just the ones I'm talking about here. But I'm not actually familiar with Pietra and Sway. But Kid Vulcan, you're talking about a guy who could definitely go toe-to-toe with Nolan to some degree. And then Darwin literally adapts to whatever it could kill him. Mind you, sometimes it doesn't always work in his favor because he can't control it. Like adapting to the Hulk, his body said, let's get out of here. That's your best measure of survival. But otherwise, yeah, they could put Nolan down. Then you get from Giant Size X-Men Series 1, the new team member, well, as long as they list Professor X, I guess I'll include it. But Banshee, So we know Sonics can disrupt Viltrumite equilibrium, cause him to lose the ability to fly temporarily, so that would put him on the ground. Colossus can hit hard enough to hurt Nolan, definitely. Cyclops, again, still the team leader, could still hit hard enough if you've tried. Nightcrawler's teleportation could definitely prove to be useful, but he's among the squishier members. Phoenix isn't really, it's still Jean on the team. Phoenix kind of became a member for a little bit. But because if it's actual Phoenix, then Nolan's screwed. He has no way to fight the Phoenix Force. They list Professor X, but I'm not really going to include him all the time. But if he's in there, then yeah, again, she can shut Nolan's brain down. Nolan, as strong-willed as he is, he does not have any defense against that as far as we know. Storm controlling the elements would be difficult, and striking Nolan multiple times with lightning would be painful. But he can survive the plasma of a sun for a while. So, unfortunately, yeah, it's not going to be enough to put him down. Thunderbird is really more just physically enhanced and not enough to take him down. Sunfire, throwing a solar plasma, at least on some level at him, painful. And Wolverine. Wolverine doesn't have the physical strength, but I would be damned if I'd have to believe adamantium could pierce Nolan. I do have to believe that would probably be possible. Because he's not as durable as someone like Gladiator, certainly not as durable as someone like Superman, and adamantium, by all accounts, is indestructible, which means even though it's probably be something similar to World War Hulk or when Civil War essentially just knocked out Wolverine or Hulk just rattled his brain around, unless he's knocking Wolverine out, he's not putting Wolverine down because even his joints in the actual proper continuity are fused with adamantium, so he's not going to be able to break him. If anything, he might actually hurt his hand on him. So yes, that team could beat, I do think with difficulty that team could beat Nolan as well. Then there's post-Phoenix team, which consisted of Angel. We already established he's not beating Nolan. Sprite, Shadowcat. Shadowcat's an interesting one. Shadowcat is a lot more dangerous than I think people give credit for because she in the, not one shot, but the alternate universe of Wolverine, basically, I think it's Enemy of the State where he kind of goes rogue. No, it's not Enemy of the State. It's where Hydra brainwashed him, gave him a teleportation bites, and he just started killing heroes. Kitty's the one that killed him because she phased her hand through his head, tore her hand off, and just killed him. Like she left it in there and he couldn't heal because it was through his brainstem. So yeah, in theory, mind you, she could do that to Nolan, but that's a Hail Mary attempt. Still has Colossus, who durable and strong enough to contend, certainly with him. But not strong enough to really put him down. Cyclops, again, if he goes all out, could definitely hurt him. Lockheed, thanks to Kitty being Kitty Pryde there, has a little magic dragon. Wouldn't do much. Magneto was apparently a temporary member of the X-Men at this point. And Magneto's no joke. So, yeah, I definitely maybe put Magneto on as someone who could, because that magnetic field, no one's not going to be able to do much. And we've seen Magneto be able to pull out the iron from someone's blood if he needs to. Nightcrawler again. He's take Professor X out of the equation. Rachel Summers is an interesting one. Definitely an interesting one to say the least. Storm and Rogue. Rogue is another one that once you now include her on the team, all bets are kind of off to how well you can do against Nolan. Because if she just absorbs the energy out of him, well, there's only so much she can absorb. Wow, that's not true. There's only so much she can take before she kind of maybe loses herself. But beyond that, Nolan's probably going to try to get her off, and that would still weaken him enough. So then you got the Post-Mutant Massacre team, which again consisted of Rogue, Colossus, Dazzler, turning sound into light, which is interesting, Havoc, Longshot, Magneto again, Storm, and Wolverine. Once again, Rogue makes that a very... Now you have a team, though, that does not list Professor X, so now there's no guaranteed win here. Magneto, though, is certainly someone who can keep him at bay, even lock him probably in like a magnetic prison, or like a sphere, and just have Rogue in there and just absorb him until he's either dead or in a coma, and then have Wolverine just put a claw through his brain. So that is possible as well. So once you put Rogue on the team, I went too far. Once you put Rogue on a team, it's kind of all bets off. All right. Then you have the Australian Outback X-Men team. First appearance in Uncanny X-Men, which consisted of Colossus, Dazzler, Havoc, Longshot, Psylocke, Rogue, Storm, and Wolverine. This is probably the one that is one of the least likely. Again, Rogue is a big plus on that team, but the problem here is you no longer have a Magneto or Professor X. So it's possible, but you do have Psylocke, so you can at least try to get into his head through a combo of her, Rogue, try to get sap some of his energy. Problem is he's a Viltrumite, and so that stamina, vitality, he's got so much of it. And Rogue could maybe then kind of like go toe to toe, and like as a trained fighter, if she's able to rip his gloves off, he's just going fist to fist. Anytime he touches her face, more of that. And again, if Wolverine can get the kill shot in, there you go. But this is one of the first teams where I really think it's actually not a good. The chance is not as good anymore. Granted, Storm being there is very helpful. Then you have X-Men No More, which is not really an X-Men roster, so we can't really use that. That's where Forge was leading a new team, and that's kind of where we left off in X-Men 97. But then you have X-Men in Space, which consisted of Banshee. All right, again, just make it so he can't fly. Just constantly break his sonics, break his equilibrium with his sonics if he can. Gambit, which he can't really charge up Nolan, but that energy's still going to hurt. Forge really isn't going to be able to do much. Maybe hit him with a gun, but he's going to get taken out. Jubilee, those plasmoids might hurt a bit. Professor X, Psylocke, Storm, Wolverine. If I'm taking Professor X out of the equation, I'm going to be honest. This might be the first team that straight out loses, but Storm throwing lightning, Psylocke, a lot of plasmoid energy between because that's what they're called. They're called plasmoids for Jubilee, and Gambit kinetic energy. Problem is, once Nolan's going to start to bum rush a lot of these guys and just boom, boom, boom. Wolverine, like I said, is probably not going to be able to be killed, but he could be knocked out, and then everything else is left. Professor X and Psylocke and Storm are probably your best bets to take him down here. That, again, is not a guarantee, though, especially if I'm not including Charles, as I have kind of been, because I feel like that's kind of unfair sometimes. But I guess it is fair because Professor X took a backseat after a while from being squad members. Then there's X-Men Gold, where he was Archangel, still would get his ass kicked by Nolan. Bishop, which unfortunately would still probably get his ass kicked by Nolan, because Nolan doesn't have heat vision like most Superman clones do. Colossus could go toe-to-toe for a while. Iceman. Jean and Storm are the ones that would probably be putting him down. That's probably what would be happening here. So I would say it's probably likely they put him down, but at the cost of a couple. Then you have X-Men Blue, where it's Beast, get his ass kicked by Nolan quick. Cyclops, if he hits him hard, could do a bit. Gambit could do a little bit. Jubilee could definitely distract him a bit. Psylocke, the mental attacks would be relevant. Revanche. I'm not familiar with who the hell Revanche is. Then Rogue and Wolverine once again. Again, Rogue, Psylocke combo could work. Wolverine, again, he could definitely hurt Nolan, but if he's knocked out, that was Revanche. I do not know who Revanche is. Well, I don't know. But again, without a seriously powerful telepath like, say, a Jean Grey or a Professor X, you're really not doing yourself any favors on this. Then there's post-Age of Apocalypse with Archangel again getting his ass clapped, Beast getting his ass clapped, Bishop, unless he's in combination with someone like Cyclops or Gambit, getting his ass clapped. Even then, probably isn't being able to do much. Cannibal could maybe surprise him, but not very well. Cyclops, again, have to go all out. Gambit, Iceman, Jean Grey, there you go. Professor X is back on the team. Storm, Psylocke, and Wolverine. This team, I think, puts him down. I do think this team puts him down, definitely. And Dark Beast apparently was infiltrating, the group at that point. Then you have post-Onslaught team, which consisted of Archangel, Beast, Bishop, Cannibal, Cyclops, Gambit, Iceman, Jean Grey, Joseph. Who the hell is Joseph? Professor X, Rogue, Psylocke, Storm, and Wolverine. You have Professor X, you have Jean Grey, you have Rogue on the team. I think it's a lock. You take him down with this team. These are like your bit, because it's not solely about just out-muscling Nolan. It's about really putting him down. If you got the muscle, sure, but he's so strong that most X-Men members don't have that level of strength to him, to be sure. But that being said, you need out-of-the-box abilities to put him down. With the post-Operation Zero Tolerance team, you have Archangel, Beast, Cannibal, Cecilia Reyes, who I'm not sure who that is, Cyclops, Iceman, Jean Grey, Joseph Maggot, Maggot's weird, Marrow was cool, but wouldn't be able to do much here. Psylocke, Rogue, Storm, and Wolverine. That being said, I think, once again, you still have you still have Jean Grey on the team. You still have Rogue on the team. You still got Storm. You still got a couple other heavy hitters here. So you still could beat Nolan with this team. I, again, still have no doubt about it. Then you have Old Faces Return team, which is Uncanny X-Men Series 1, issue 360, X-Men 2nd Series, 80. Colossus, Gambit, Marrow, Marrow, Nightcrawler, Professor X, Rogue, Shadowcat, Storm, Wolverine. Like I said, Shadowcat, don't sleep on that. Rogue, Professor X, you got it at that point. It's a done deal, I think. And again, Wolverine, for if he's unconscious, put him down. Then you have the original Astonishing X-Men team, which consisted of Archangel, Cable, Cyclops, Jean Grey, and X-Man, who is a very powerful telepath. And again, you have Jean Grey, you have Cable. You should be fine. And there was a Wolverine Skrull on the team for a while, which was not actually Wolverine. So that's not actually him. Then you have the 12 team, the Uncanny X-Men Series 1 team. Archangel, Beast, Colossus. So far, they're getting clapped. Cyclops can do a little bit. Gambit can do a little bit. Jean Grey, a problem for Nolan. Marrow, again, with the bones and all that. Nightcrawler, teleportation can be tricky. Professor X, makes it a lock. Psylocke, Rogue, Shadowcat, Storm, Wolverine. Again, you got your biggest enough hitters on this team, especially your telepaths. You should be fine. Then you start to get into some of the more weird rosters. You get the Revolution team. Uncanny X-Men Series 1, 381/X-Men Series 2, I believe issue 100. Number 100. Beast, Bishop, Cable, Cecilia Reyes, Colossus, Gambit, Jean Grey, Moonstar, Professor X, Psylocke, Rogue, Shadowcat, Storm, Thunderbird 3, and Wolverine. Once again, you should be fine. You should be fine on this team. Now, if I remember correctly, is Cecilia Reyes... No, she's not Moonstar. That's the one who can make your dreams reality, if I'm not mistaken. Let's see here. So, and then you have Extreme X-Men, which was X-Men 2nd Series, number 109. Beast, Bishop, Cannonball, Gambit, Lifeguard, which is a very interesting one. She has adaptability powers. Psylocke, Rogue, Sage, which I don't remember Sage. Slipstream, and I don't remember Slipstream. Storm, Thunderbird 3, and Wolverine. Now, I want to say this team is not going to do well, but the fact is I don't remember Slipstream, and Lifeguard does have reactionary evolution similar to Darwin. That means that there's an ballpark shot this team can win, but it would be difficult to say the least. Reyes. Is that, am I thinking Sunspot? Is that who I'm thinking with Reyes? But regardless, that he's not there on this team. Yeah, but Lifeguard's cool. She got like the golden skin and everything like that. Yeah, Lifeguard's cool. I like Lifeguard. So it's not a bad team, but I think this is one of the least lesser teams. Then official Genoshen Assault Team, X-Men, Uncanny X-Men Series 1, 392. Cyclops, Dazzler, Frenzy, who I'm not familiar with. Jean Grey, Northstar, I do know. Or Meta. I have never heard of Meta. I've heard of like some of the other ones. I just don't know their powers. But Sunpyre, Wolverine, and Wraith. Okay, I'm not gonna lie. I do. You got Professor X and Jean Grey. That's really all you need. Plus Cyclops for your long range. Sunpyre probably obviously has pyrokinetic abilities of some kind. I have no idea who Frenzy is, and I have no idea who her Murta is. So yeah, I can't say much for that. But either way, one of these guys is see-through. Okay, I know who we're talking about now. Then you have Morrison's new X-Men, which was Beast, Cyclops, Emma Frost, Jean Grey, Professor X, Kuan Yin Zhou. Is that the one who controlled manipulating gravity but was really Magneto in disguise? Was that what it was? I think I remember that. So yeah, because you got Professor X, Jean Grey and Emma Frost on the team, you pretty much got a win there. And you got the hidden Magneto there. So you should be fine with that team up. Yep, that's exactly what I was thinking of. And then finally, our more recent X-Men rosters at least from what they have here is the Archangel Uncanny X-Men Series 1, Uncanny X-Men Series 1, 395, Archangel, Chamber, Iceman, Nightcrawler, North Star, Stacy X, who I don't know what she does, and Wolverine. And I don't remember Chamber either. But yeah, unless you have someone who's got like a reality warping ability or some major telekinesis or something like that, or telekinetic powers, or telepathy, that's not a good looking team for Nolan. And then there's Havoc's Uncanny X-Men, Archangel, Chamber, Chamber. I'm going to look up Chamber real quick. Who the hell is Chamber Mutant? Because I've heard the name several times. I've heard that name. It should see Chamber Marvel or Chamber X-Men. Here we go. Chamber. What does he do? Chamber. Oh no, yeah, he's powerful. I remember that. Stars more. Mutant who possesses the generation and manipulation of concussive blasts of psionic energy from a furnace in his chest. Okay, a telepathy for communication and mental manipulation. Okay, no, yeah, you put Chamber on there, you're good. You put Chamber on there, you're good. Which, speaking of which, Havoc's Uncanny X-Men included Archangel, Chamber, Iceman, Havoc, Husk, Jubilee, Juggernaut, Nightcrawler, North Star, Polaris, and Wolverine. Honestly, you just throw Juggernaut at Nolan and Nolan's effed. Chamber is just kind of icing on the cake. Husk is a kind of cool one. They're able to elongate their skin. And then Polaris is kind of icing. And again, if you need to, you can go Wolverine. So that's all the X-Men rosters that Uncanny X-Men.net lists. And there are more. The point being is, and I went on a 20-minute rant here with all the X-Men teams I could find, but the point is that most of the X-Men, you just throw telepaths and telekinetics at Nolan, he doesn't have a good answer for that. He does not. And then if you throw individuals who actually have literal energy manipulation capabilities and on an extreme power, like we see in the Marvel or DC universe, Nolan has no good answer for that, and solar plasma is one of Viltrumite's real weaknesses. So while he could certainly speed blitz a couple of these teams, ultimately and let's not forget too, there have been times where Wanda and Pietro have been members of the X-Men. Wanda is literally the Scarlet Witch. He has no freaking answer for the Scarlet Witch. No, his only answer, take her out fast. There's another one who I can't remember, who's like a mutant who literally whose muscles just keep growing exponentially every time he uses his power. He has to wear vibranium tattoos. And even then, he's so powerful, he's literally going to break those tattoos. Vibranium tattoos. There's Elixir's been an X-Men. I'm just trying to think of some other members who have been on the X-Men before. We've had members of the Brotherhood be X-Men. We've had so many members of the actual X-Men, like the Cuckoos. The Stepford Cuckoos, like they're called. There's been so many X-Men teams and lineups that there is no real good way for him to take down every single X-Men team. But he can certainly beat a couple of them. If you're lacking a telepath, if you're lacking an energy manipulator, if you're lacking a telekinetic, which some of these X-Men teams did do, and you don't have a good energy manipulator on your team, or someone who just has the pure physicality to match him, Juggernaut's a perfect example of someone who could match him easy, then you're kind of a shit creek. But the good beauty of the X-Men, quite frankly, is the fact that most of the team rosters had what they needed to bring Nolan down. I'm not saying there isn't going to be a bunch of those teams are going to lose members. Absolutely there are. But I'm saying that they are still going to get the win on Nolan in the long run. So while Omni-Man is strong, he's really not that strong when you throw him out, when you take him out of his universe and throw him into like Marvel or DC. Oh, he'd be powerful. Don't get me wrong. But compared to the heavy hitter, because he's a heavy hitter in his world, you take him out of his world and throw him into Marvel or DC, he's no longer a heavy hitter in his world. He's a strong character, certainly, but not a heavy hitter. He's not a Thor or a Hulk. He's not a Thanos or an All-Father character. He is, what's a good comparison to him, I think, in the Marvel universe? That's a good question. Who would be a character I would probably compare him to? Because the Sentry would rip him apart. So he's not a Sentry level character. So who would be below Sentry then? Who's a character? You know what? He's probably more along the lines of like a a Captain Marvel character. A lot of physical strength, can duke it out, but she's also got energy capabilities. I think he'd actually also be able to straight out beat her, I think. Even though she does have energy capabilities, her main gimmick, and she can use energy on her own, one of her main gimmicks is absorbing energy, which he doesn't have. And he's got a lot more experience under his belt than she does. And he can recover from a lot. As long as like his heart or brain isn't damaged, he can come back from just about anything, provided the technology is available. So I'd put him more in that realm of like a Captain Marvel. That's where I'd put him. But I mean, I could see maybe arguments for low level tiers of like the Hulk before he like really starts to rage. Maybe a Thor if he's taking it easy, because he can't outright beat Thor. He's not matching Thor. He's not matching Sentry. But maybe an Abomination, because Abomination's strength, unlike Hulk, is just capped. So maybe an Abomination. That's not a bad comparison. I don't know. Who would you think he kind of ranks as? What kind of tier do you think Nolan ranks as in the Marvel Universe or DC Universe? But again, this is all relative. If I were to do a My Hero what if and throw him in My Hero, he claps the entirety of the My Hero world. Because even though Shigaraki has decay and could theoretically decay Nolan, Nolan's just going to take his head clean off before that ever happens. Nolan could straight up take down All Might, to be frank. Yeah, it's all. I'm not sure where you would really place them otherwise. But that's the year here today. Thanks for watching. Hope you enjoyed. Like, comment, share, subscribe, and I'll see you guys next time.